Welcome to the Hollis Chapman Show, where we celebrate the power of words and the beauty of storytelling. Join us on this journey as we delve into the minds of successful authors and small business owners who have mastered the art of crafting captivating narratives that inspire, educate, and entertain. Prepare to be inspired as we explore the boundless possibilities that come from sharing stories and experiences that shape our lives and ignite our passions. Through heartfelt conversations and insightful discussions, we uncover the wisdom and creativity that fuel these incredible individuals in their pursuit of greatness. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and let the magic of storytelling transport you to new worlds and perspectives. Get ready to be inspired, informed, and uplifted as we embark on this storytelling journey together. Stay tuned for an episode filled with wisdom, inspiration, and the power of words. Welcome to the Hollis Chapman Show, where stories come alive. Let's begin this adventure together. Don't miss out on the opportunity to connect with some of the most talented and compelling voices in literature today. Tune in and let the journey begin.
Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday. I hope everybody's recovered from the Super Bowl weekend. Hope they're back at work or at least in front of your computer or your smartphone listening to today's show. We have a wonderful guest here today. She's here from Canada. Okay, she grew up on a farm, so she's tough. She's an early riser. Okay, she started writing at a young age. She tried to start with a novel, didn't like doing a novel thing, so she writes short stories. So we'll talk about that. Short stories. That's still tough to do. But she's here to talk about that and promote her new books. Make sure after the show you go get her new book. This is very exciting. Okay, let's welcome to the show our special guest today, Linda Williams.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much, ma'am. We're all recovering from a big weekend, but that's okay. You're here. You can bring us into the week, and we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, tell us more about yourself and some more about your new book, okay?
Well, I'm currently based in Calgary, Alberta, and as you said, I grew up on a dairy farm in the eastern townships of Quebec. And the collection of stories I wrote actually spans about 15 years. I started the first one in the book when I was 25, and I wrapped it up when I was 39.
Wow. That's, you said, I was listening to some of your interviews earlier, and you started writing a novel early. You started reading and writing early. Why go from the novel to short stories? What was a wow moment where you switched over?
Well, I guess you would say it wasn't so much a wow moment as a last resort. I loved reading from a very early age, and I really devoured novels more than anything as a young, as a child and adolescent. So it just seemed like the natural place to start if I was going to write something. And I took the very sound advice to outline chapter by chapter. And after doing that and getting about 140 pages into the project, I realized I didn't care about it enough to finish, because my why in terms of writing is to find out what happens. So once I knew the ending, I felt completely unmotivated and ready to start something new. And so I turned away from writing fiction for a while. And when I discovered short stories, I realized, oh, this might work for me. This is the kind of project I can sustain. I can, bang out a draft in a very short amount of time. I'm not scared to fail at this, because at that point I had internalized the project as a failure.
You make it sound a little easier. Is short stories easier or just writing a novel's easier? What do you think? Kind of the people who are kind of looking into it, and will after the show, will they have a hard time writing short stories, or is it not enough material, you think, to do a short story book?
I really think short stories and novels are kind of like apples and oranges.
Okay.
It's hard to compare them. And I think stories might have more in common with poetry um,
Yeah.
than novels. Yeah, for me, it was great to realize that I didn't have to spend a year or 5 years
Yeah.
working on a draft of a project, that I could finish something in a much shorter amount of time. But in terms of compression, short stories do present their own challenges.
Beautiful. Now that's part of your motivation because I should have asked this earlier. But what motivated you to write the collection you wrote? Is there certain things that you did and you said, okay, let's put this into a short story. This would be a good for my first book. Tell us about that.
Yeah. When I started writing the stories, it was just what came to me. And then when I got to about 2021, I got serious about putting together a collection. And at that point, what was on my mind was female rage. And I didn't know that it was going to have a moment, and I wasn't thinking of it using that term. But I was very much interested in women who were angry and behaving outside of the norm of expectations for how women should behave.
Women with anger, rage. Unfortunately, in our country right now, we're seeing a lot of that. Okay, but I know sometimes you pick up your stories from things that are happening live. You probably getting a nice chunk of your next book already because of all the stuff that's going on in the world, stuff like that. Is that how you pick up your material? Is what's going on around us in this world?
To a certain extent.
Yeah.
Often what I'm observing is what's unfolding within my closer circle.
Mm.
Um, when you're bearing witness to the pain of your loved ones, and
Mm.
you know that this isn't something you've experienced directly, but it makes you start to ask questions about what it might be like to live through it yourself. That's often a point of departure for me. A few of the stories are based on things that I lived through and that I felt I didn't necessarily handle the way I would have wanted to. So I gave those over to characters and environments that were fictionalized, and it let me exert more power over those situations than I felt I'd had myself.
Linda, how do the themes of beauty and hell resonate throughout the stories in your book? So kind of put them together for us.
Okay, so I think those are things that are really tied together. Bob Ross is always telling us as he's painting that we need the dark to
Yeah.
appreciate the light. And that's very much what's happening in these stories. The title, The Beauty and the Hell of It, does come directly from a line in the final story in the collection. And it's just this line where a guy realizes that the beauty and the hell of marriage is that you have to keep choosing your partner over and over every day.
Oh, that's wonderful. I was always asked at the 15-minute mark about the title and the cover, but you brought up the title already. So explain the title. You said it's a sentence in your book, stuff like that. Did you just choose that yourself? Or did you get help somebody to choose that? Not only the title, but also the wonderful cover. Talk about the cover of the book as well. It's very interesting, very sharp. So how did that all come about, the cover, the title?
Okay, so I gathered the stories under the working title Don't Look Back, which is the title of another story in the collection. And I actually signed the book under that title, which looking back is kind of impressive because as titles go, it's not particularly original or arresting. If you look it up on Amazon, you'll find there are many books that already have that title. So
Yeah.
it's not doing you any favors. And then I had discussed the title with my publisher, and I had looked at the other stories because I really did want to pick a title that was already a story title, and that one seemed like the most arresting and intriguing of them all.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, your book features a diverse cast of characters, and I was listening to your show this morning. You get your characters created by voices. Voices you hear in your head. So talk about your characters and how they come about and how you put it together for your book.
Yeah. Often a story will start with a single line bouncing around in my head, and that line usually is interiority. So that's very much how I unwrap my characters. Most of the stories in the collection do start with a small amount, at least, of interiority, and that might be my favorite part of character to write, just getting inside someone's inner dialogue and finding out how they think. So